What's up, everybody? Hey, it's Steve. My friends call me Ace in the Sorare community. Welcome in. And today, I'm going to spend a few minutes to talk about common roster construction. For those of you who really grind and you enjoy playing on the common end, I'm going to put together 10 different rosters that should give you some creative ideas. For the most part, a lot of you guys who know baseball really well probably have put together a handful of lineups. You feel pretty comfortable with what you're doing. For those of you that are new to Sorare, or you're not big baseball fans, maybe you played Sorare NBA or Sorare football, baseball can be a little daunting. And obviously the way that baseball drafts with the point system can make it a little hard to find deals and find value. So I'm going to put together 10 teams. We're going to try to keep this brief, keep it short, but it's going to give you a little perspective on how to put the roster together the way that works for you. And that's why I put together 10 different teams. So you can find what works for you and what you want to roll with. And I'll explain as we go through the pluses and minuses to these teams, but that is the goal. So if you're watching on replay or on a recording, then I hope you enjoy it. Fantastic. If you're live right now, Flores, I can see you in here. What's up, man? Good to see you. I am happy to answer questions or give any feedback, of course. So let's just jump right in. Let me share the screen here. All right, so rare. So I've got, like I said, I've got 10 of them. We're going to start off with some stacks, team stacks. The teams that typically score the most runs, they are not very consistent from a common standpoint for the most part on a week-to-week basis. But if you have the right stacks during game weeks where your team plays 4 games, the stacks can come in really handy. So I'm going to start off with a handful of stacks. I think the biggest stack everybody always uses is the Braves. But obviously, when we're drafting common, it's a lot different than just being able to go buy the cards you want. So I'm going to throw this together. We're going to start off with Strider, who is the #1 pitcher in baseball and the #1 Sorare pitcher. So we're going to start off with Strider. Just about every single team that I make and that you will want to make are going to have 5 guys. There's 5 guys that are going to be on just about every single roster. Excuse me. And I know you're thinking, well, maybe I want to kind of avoid those guys. And I'm not saying you don't. But what's important is you're going to be able to get value for those pitchers and the hitters. So we're going to start with Montez, who's only going to be 5 points because he was injured last year, and Tristan McKenzie, who's only going to be 6 points. You'll have them on just about every build throughout the 10 builds. Not every single one, but just about every build. From a relief pitcher standpoint, Edwin Diaz is arguably the best closer in baseball. And he's only 5 points because he was injured last year. And that's the only reason we're getting this kind of value. I don't know why Sorare set it up like this, because it doesn't give a lot of variance, because most people are just going to pick these 5 guys to start with. So those 5 guys, let me take Strider off real quick, but these 5 guys are going to be your core for the most part on most of your roster builds, because it's going to leave you 94 joules to be able to build the rest of your roster. So we're going to do the Brave stack. Here's Strider. We're going to go Matt Olson, Ozzie Albies, Ronald Acuna, and we have just enough points for Michael Harris. And that is going to be your Brave stack. So we've got the core 5. We added Strider, Olson, Albies, Acuna, and Michael Harris. You'll end up having 2 utility guys. One flex, 1 utility. More than likely, that's going to be Harris and Cruz. So you'll be locked in for that. So let's move on. Next stack. So I'm going to fly through these stacks, by the way. And if you have any questions, go ahead and type them into the chat, and I'll circle back around on them. If you're watching this on delay, you can hit me up on Twitter at SoRareAces, and I'm happy to answer any questions for you there as well. So, little tricky here. I'm going to do a Dodger stack. A couple things to note. First thing, Mookie Betts is not available right now. I'm assuming he's going to be available again before the season kicks off. So we're just going to use Bobby Witt in place of Mookie Betts. They should both be 20 points. And then the outfield, I'm going to go with James Outman and Teoscar Hernandez. Which makes pitching a little tricky. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use Ohtani in the pitcher slot, and I'm going to use – you've got 13 points left. You need to pick up a pitcher. I feel that Grayson Rodriguez is the best 13-point pitcher. That's the best value right there. And that's going to be your Dodger stack. Now, I know you're only rolling with 2 pitchers. That's okay. I'll explain why later. But you've got Grayson and Montes, but then you've got Freeman and Ohtani at your corners. You'll use one of those as your utilities or your flex. You're going to have Mookie Betts in the infield, and then you'll have the 2 Dodger outfielders. So essentially, you're going to be able to roll with Freeman, Betts, Outman, Hernandez, and Ohtani from your bats. You're using Diaz as closer, and then likely Grayson. So that's going to give you a massive Dodger stack. All right, plowing through. Next one up. Yankees. All right, we're going to go Yankees. I'll start in the outfield. We'll go ahead and tack on Judge and Soto. The Yankees stack is definitely not my favorite stack, but I understand that the Yankees are extremely popular, and people are pretty on board with it right now. So we're going to roll with the Yankee stack just so you can see what it's going to look like. So what I've done is I've got Anthony Rizzo as your corner, Gleyber Torres as your middle, Soto and Judge in the outfield, and it's going to leave us 34 points. So I'm going to go Strider at the pitcher spot, and with my 14 points, I'm going to go Bryce Miller. You could also go Grayson. I know we just used him. You could go Grayson. You'll have an extra point. And I'm going to replace Rodon. I'm going to replace Montes with Rodon for my final Yankee. So this team is a little different looking, right? If you're really searching for some variance, or you're a Yankees fan, this is going to give you Rodon. Obviously, you have Strider, so you have a stud pitcher. Rizzo, Gleyber Torres, Juan Soto, and Aaron Judge. So let's clear that out. Normally, I don't clear it because, well, it's kind of a pain to put all the guys back in. Next team, we've got 3 more team stacks. We're halfway there on the team stacks. This is going to be an Orioles team stack. So we're going to start off with Spencer Strider. Obviously not an Oriole, but that's okay. And then we're going to go with Corbin Burns. And we're bringing back Frankie. Relief pitcher is going to be Diaz again. Maximizing those points, right? I'm going to go Mountcastle for my corner. Bring back Hoskins. My middle infielder, you have to make a decision, right? You've either got to go. I decided to go Gunner. He's 17 points, and it just works that way. You could go Adley at 16 points, or you could go Gunner. Really up to you. It's not like that 1 point is going to really help you out very much. And then I've got Cedric Mullins and Anthony Santander. Obviously, Jackson Holiday, not an option at this point. And I was able to max out Nothing left. And this team's a little tricky, right? It's like the Yankees team. But you've got Strider, Burns, Montes, Mountcastle, Gunnar, Mullins, and Santander. So you're going to use one of those outfielders. Keep in mind, Mullins is banged up right now, but you're going to use one of those outfielders as your utility. And then for your flex, you're probably using Cruz. But you do have 2 stud top shelf pitchers. All right, let's clear it out. Next team. We're knocking them out. I hope I'm not going too fast. I feel like most of the time I go too slow or I'm too long-winded, and these end up taking a lot longer than they should. So we're going to plow through right now. So we're going to go with the Texas Rangers, the World Series champs. We'll put together a stack for them. This one's a little tricky, and I'll explain why. So we're going to start with the pitching side. And I'm going to roll with the Rangers ace, Nathan Eovaldi. And I'm going to have enough points that I'm going to add in Yuri Perez. 14 joules, a little variety there with Yuri. Corner infield. I've got a couple choices, but I'm going to go Josh Young. I could also go Nathaniel Lowe, but I'm going to go Josh Young. Middle infield is really tricky because you have Seager and you have Marcus Semien. Ideally, you'd like to have both in the stack, but it's just not going to happen. So I'm going to go Seager. And on the outfield, I'm going to go Adolis Garcia. He's going to be 18 points. And Evan Carter is also going to be 18 points, and that is going to wipe out my budget. So I'm at a 0 budget. You could go Semien. It is possible that Seager doesn't play the first week of the season while he's still recovering from sports hernia surgery. So Semien may be a more comfortable play for you at that point, but you can also use Cruz in that spot and then use Carter and Hoskins in the utility in the flex. So there's your Ranger stack: Eovaldi, Perez, Young, Seager, Garcia, and Carter. So let's clear this up here. Move on. I've got one more team stack. And this team stack is going to be the Mets. We're going to go with Strider. And we're going to bring back Tristan. Corner infielder is going to be Alonso. Middle infielder is going to be Francisco Lindor. Francisco. Your Mets outfielder right here is going to be Brandon Nimmo, and that leaves you 21 points. I'm going to have a little extra here, but I'm going to go Ronald Acuna. So my Mets stack is actually going to be like little Mets, a little Braves. But you've got Diaz, Alonso, Lindor, and Nimmo, and then you're sprinkling in Strider and Acuna. Okay, that's all the team stacks. If there was a team stack that you'd like to see that I did not put together, feel free to reach out via Twitter or on Discord. I'm aced out on Discord as well, but I'm happy to put that together for you if you're curious about a team stack. So next stack I'm going to do is kind of an off-the-wall stack. I'm calling it my fast start stack. There are 2 teams that are going to play 4-game weeks, the first 2 game weeks of the Sorare MLB season. Those 2 teams are going to be the Cleveland Guardians and the Miami Marlins. So what I did is try to put a stack together that would allow you to build the maximum opportunities for those 2 teams. There's a couple ways you can do it. So if you want to mix in a couple Marlins that I didn't mix in, and that absolutely works. So let's start here. We're going to go with your pitcher is not going to be on either team, but I'm going to have 17 points left after I put the bats in. So we're going to go Freddie Peralta. There's definitely some solid options on the pitcher side at 17 points, though. You can go Kirby, Framber, Steele, Webb. It was not easy to settle on Freddie, but I think Freddie's the way to go there. Your corner infielder is going to be Jose Ramirez, and we're going to ditch Hoskins. And instead, we're going to go with Josh Naylor. Now, Josh is a lot of points at 17. Keep in mind that you could go with Josh Bell. He's only at 11, so you can boost up somewhere else. Or there we go. Or you can go Jake Berger. He's only 15 points. So if you want to shave a little bit, you can absolutely do that. Move over to middle infield. I decided to go with Jimenez. There we go. You can also look at, there we go. Whoa. You can also go with Luis Arraez. It's one more point. So if you want to, we're kind of like shifting chairs on the Titanic here. You can drop Naylor, you can pick up Berger, you can drop Jimenez, you can go Arias. It's up to you. It's all the same points, but keep in mind both of these, all the players I just mentioned are going to have 4 games in the first 2 game weeks, so they're going to get you off to a quick start. And your outfield, I picked one guy from each team, so I went Kwan and Jazz. And that wiped out my budget. So this team, a little tricky. Like I said, it's a fast start team. You're going to be able to maximize your games the first 2 weeks. Both teams play 4 games in the first 2 game weeks. And you're looking at Freddie Peralta as your ace. Then your offense is going to have Jose Ramirez, Josh Naylor, Andre Jimenez, O'Neal Cruz, who you'll likely still use, Steve Kwan, and Jazz Chisholm. So that's your fast start team. Next team is a pitcher-heavy team. So I have to admit, when I put this together, I felt like it was a dumpster fire. And you'll see why in just a second. So we're going to go Spencer Strider, Tarek Skubal, Pablo Lopez. These are interchangeable names. You could absolutely go Glasnow instead of Lopez. For the most part, I just wanted to grab 2019-18 on starters. So now we've got to hunt value. So I'm going to go on the hitter side. You got to hunt value. You're going to go Vladdy. We're going to bring back Hoskins. Now we don't have a lot of points here, so I'm going to use Anthony Volpe, who's only 12 points. And then I've only got 20 points for my outfielders. So we're going to go MJ Melendez and Chris Bryant. And that eats up my budget. Now, when you look at that offense, it's definitely not going to scare anybody. But you've got Vladdy, Volpe, Melendez, and Chris Bryant. On the positive note, you do have 3 top shelf starting pitchers. This is not the way I would suggest going, but if you want to be different, this is definitely an avenue for you to explore. What you may even want to look at is doing something like going really soft at middle infielder, like picking up Gavin Lux. And then I'll just show it to you. You could just go, as long as this doesn't stick. So we could go with Gavin Lux here and then ditch Chris Bryant, and we've got 17 points. So all of a sudden now we can throw in Brian Reynolds or Kyle Schwarber. I'd say they're pretty comparable. Schwarber's a little higher. So you can mix that up a little bit too, and that at least gives you a high tier 2 guy from a hitting standpoint. And you've got Royce, not Royce, but Vladdy, who's a tier 1. And then 3 stud pitchers. So like I said, that's not necessarily the way I would go, but if you want to be different, that's definitely an option for you. Okay, this next lineup is going to be a value-based lineup. So you're trying to kind of spread it, have some stud pitching, and at the same time have solid hitting, but you're not going to have as many studs. So we're going to start off, big surprise, we're going to start off with Strider. So we're going to go Strider. We'll bring back Grayson and Frankie. On the corner infield standpoint, we're going to go Spencer Torkelson. Tristan Casas is right there as well, by the way. He's definitely an option. And we're going to bring back Royce Hopkins. The infield standpoint, remember, these are value-based picks now. So we're going to go Dansby at 15. And your outfield's actually going to look pretty good. It's going to be Juan Soto, and 18 points left. We pick up Tatis. So I went really strong in the outfield. Plan is that I would start Torkelson, Dansby Swanson, Soto, Tatis, and O'Neill Cruz. And I'd have some really solid pitching because I've got Spencer Strider and I've got Grayson. All right, one more team, last team. This is the team that I will likely put together to start the season for myself. So let's clear these guys out. And I will circle back around and check out if there are any questions or comments. I'm happy to give some opinion or give some feedback. So my team is going to look a little different. Not too different. And then I will explain why. Okay. So what I did is I went Ohtani at pitching. At pitcher, obviously he's not going to pitch, but I'm just going to take advantage of the system here. So I'm going to go Ohtani at pitcher. I'm going to go Vladdy as my first baseman, Witt in the middle infield, and Acuna and Tatis. Now, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to give myself the best opportunity for trade-in. I'm not as worried about grabbing pitching because with the exception of Spencer Strider, there's no other tier 1 pitchers. And what should happen, and part of the reason why we're rolling with McKenzie and Montes is obviously they provide value for the amount of jewels. But when you look at Royce Hopkins, he's really like a low-end tier 2, high-end tier 3 guy. O'Neill is a solid tier 2 player. So what's going to happen is we're going to roll in O'Neill Cruz will automatically after the first week be able to swap for a stud ace pitcher if I want to. Hopkins, I can probably swap out for a guy like an Aaron Nola. And by having Shohei, Vladdy, Witt, Acuna, and Tatis, now I have 5 tier 1 hitters. It's extremely hard to win tier 1 hitters, so I want to be able to maximize that. If I can get 5 right off the bat, now granted, I don't really want to play Vladdy. He's kind of on the bottom end for me, but if I can take Vladdy and I can swap him for somebody else, that's a huge win. So if I can swap him out for Olsen or Freeman, then that works for me. But we'll have to see how the swap works, obviously. I don't think it's going to be an issue. You should be able to swap out Vladdy for probably like Jose Ramirez, and then I'm going to have 4 game weeks rolling into the second week. So that is a little bit of strategy for you guys. 10 teams. Like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up on Twitter, Sorare Aces. You can also find me on Discord. I'm at Aced Out. If you haven't yet, you can find my manager page on Sorare. Super easy to find. It's Aced Out. If you haven't yet, make sure you give me a follow. And I'm going to wrap this up. I hope you guys had a great day, and I hope you learned something from the stream. See you later.